We now welcome the academic procession. Please be seated and welcome Dean Nergis Mavalvala to the lectern.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, especially to you, our guests of honor, our graduates. It's all you. Good afternoon and welcome, parents, friends, families gathered here to witness and celebrate with the MIT graduating class of 2023. Families and friends, maybe all of us, might be wondering what kind of achievements the graduates have had to make to earn these clownish robes. Well, first and foremost, all of our graduates have made indelible marks in their scientific fields, contributing to research that will have a lasting impact. Let me just tell you a little bit about that. No, this is not a lecture, I promise, but it will be exciting. Our biologists and chemists have uncovered new ways to design cancer drugs using unique nanostructures that can provoke an immune system to respond. It can slow tumor growth and, most importantly, not produce harmful inflammatory side effects. Among you, you have invented that. You, our brilliant students, have contributed to our understanding of the progression of diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Huntington's disease. Using genetic, cellular, and systems-level analyses, you have identified targets that could one day lead to new treatments. That's you. You have contributed to our understanding of how carbon-capturing phytoplankton first colonized the oceans on our planet, and how volcano worlds on planets outside of our solar system might mirror volcanic outbursts on Jupiter's moons. You've done that. Mathematicians among you have looked to worms to understand how they can tangle themselves up by the thousands and then separate in a split second. A trick that could inspire the design of self-detangling materials and fibers. And if anybody's seen the rat's nest of wires under my desk, boy, do we need that. Okay. You have shown that exotic particles, called skyrmions, can yield materials with surprising new electronic properties, discoveries that will lead to important new physics and potential applications in computer science and more. Your scientific achievements are part of your legacy, and so is your service to your communities and to MIT. Your passionate advocacy helps us all strive towards becoming our best selves, whether it's pushing our climate and sustainability efforts forward, or setting up and helping us to realize our goals for belonging, achievement, and composition, or forming a graduate student union. You have worked to ensure that we will not only pull up a chair for those who haven't had a seat at the table, you've also taught us how to design and build the table differently to begin with. On behalf of the School of Science, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and all of MIT, we recognize and congratulate you on all these achievements. It is a tremendous pleasure to be here with you all today to celebrate your graduation from MIT, which is my alma mater, and now yours. Friends and families, congratulations, you have supported these achievements. Faculty and staff, congratulations, you have walked the journey with one more class. You are the mentors, the advisors, and the cheering squads. You have helped our graduates on their journeys. And now, graduates, it's your turn. This is my challenge, perhaps my charge to you. think about how you've been supported by your mentors, friends, and loved ones, and continue to invent, do amazing science, but also pay that forward. I would not be standing here before you were it not for my mentors, who came in many guises, from family members to my high school chemistry teacher, but I became a physicist, to the physics researchers who helped me on my journey as an experimental physicist. As an undergraduate at Wellesley College, the person who most influenced my becoming a researcher was my professor, Robbie Berg. It was my first experience with research, and it was the first time I got to work on a problem with no known solution, and that was really heady. He supported me through every failure, and there were many. I was actually not a very good experimentalist when I started, but eventually he also helped me celebrate every success. After graduating from Wellesley, I started as a graduate student at MIT, and I joined a then nascent team working on the search for gravitational waves. At the time, it was seen as unlikely to succeed, and those who worked on it were viewed as a ragtag team of mavericks pursuing an impossible dream. In 2015, 100 years after Einstein told us that gravity was wavy, we did discover those elusive gravitational waves. That was 25 years after I started in the field, so thankfully my PhD didn't take that long, and I hope none of yours has either. That discovery and my scientific journey was a monumental team effort with many mentors, well-wishers, and teammates. And I hope that in your careers, you too will experience this kind of teamwork and feel the heady euphoria of breakthrough. You now have the opportunity to take this extraordinary education you received and move forward in life with integrity, kindness, awareness, and agency. If you collaborate with, if you help promote others who have walked a different journey than your own, if you pay it forward by being a caring mentor, you will change the world for the better. Now, if the mathematicians and statisticians in the room will allow me to be flaky, I want to suggest that even with an n as small as 2, we have a trend here in the MIT School of Sciences advanced degree ceremonies of having extraordinary scientists who have paved new roads address you. Last year, Professor Emerita Nancy Hopkins, a brilliant biologist in the field of cancer genetics, spoke with us about how she was, and still is, the unlikely hero in the battle against pervasive sexism in the academy, a fight for gender equality in science, and specifically here at MIT. This year, we welcome Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi to address us. Dr. Oluseyi's innate talent for math and seeing connections across disciplines and data make him an outstanding scientist, astrophysicist, and instrumentalist. Dr. Oluseyi is a leading researcher and a leader of people who look to him and others to help navigate towards their chosen futures and their chosen paths. Dr. Oluseyi's path was exceptional, as you'll learn from him. He'll tell you about his mentors and guides who helped him stay true to his path. For now, let me just tell you about his science. As you can see from our program today, Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi is currently serving as the president of the National Society of Black Physicists. He has been interested in astrophysics and cosmology throughout his life and formal education, earning a doctorate from Stanford University. There, he was mentored by the late Professor Arthur B.C. Walker, Jr., with whom he conducted experimental space research. Dr. Oluseyi helped design, build, calibrate, and launch the Multispectral Solar Telescope Array, a project led by Professor Walker, who helped pioneer new methods for observing that most beautiful and important of all stars, our sun. Professor Walker is well remembered for advising Black and women scientists, including his first doctoral students, Dr. Sally Ride, who was the first American woman in space. Over a period of 3 decades, with tireless work from Professor Walker, Stanford University is credited with mentoring more Black physicists with PhDs, including Dr. Oluseyi, than any other university in the nation. Dr. Oluseyi did a short stint in Silicon Valley working on semiconductor materials, but he returned to research as a fellow at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory working on the dark energy camera. He also conducted research at the Vera Rubin Observatory as a member of the Transient and Variable Stars Science Collaboration. This research would prove fruitful to his collaborations here at MIT, when he joined us as a Martin Luther King Jr. visiting scholar. As an MLK scholar, Dr. Oluseyi brought his knowledge of light detection and camera systems to work with Professor Sarah Seeger on the hunt for planets outside of our own solar system. Shortly after leaving MIT, Dr. Oluseyi was named the Space Sciences Education Manager at NASA for the Science Mission Directorate, which seeks to understand the origins, the evolution, and the future of the universe. Just tiny, small questions. In this role, Dr. Oluseyi provided NASA leadership with strategic scientific advising on topics of STEM education, investments, citizen science projects, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and strategic communications. His aptitude for communicating scientific topics in an engaging and clear way is chief among his skills, and he is routinely sought after for commentary by the media and other scientific organizations and outlets, not only here in the United States, but also worldwide. Dr. Oluseyi has also written a fabulous book called A Quantum Life, From the Streets to the Stars, which I highly recommend everybody to read. Please join me in welcoming today Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Congratulations, graduates. If anybody needs therapy, I know a guy. All right. I've been there. I know what it's like. So the dean and her colleagues were so kind to invite me to speak to you today. And they said, hey, come in here and tell your story. And I don't know if I think they did know because they read my book, but my story intersects with MIT in a big way. And I'll tell you what that is shortly. But I started my physics career on this campus because I didn't know a physics career was possible. And I stepped foot on this campus for the first time 35 years ago. I know what you must be thinking. Dr. O, you're only 30 years old. How is that possible? Time dilation. So anyway, my story, I always describe it in 3 words. It's a story of hope, hustle, and help. And what I mean by hustle, because that word has many meanings, is not swindling people or tricking people. I mean a relentless pursuit of your dreams. Hard work, all right? What you did while you were here at MIT. So let me tell you how my story developed. When I look at the audience, I see that we're all very diverse. We're from all parts of the country, all parts of the world. Many people are probably immigrants. I'm from an immigrant family also, right? Both of my father's grandfathers were immigrants from Ireland. My mother's family immigrated from West Africa to France, to the Caribbean, and then finally to New Orleans. And some generations later, I was born. But in my family, no one pursued education. My father dropped out of school when he was 9 years old. He was born in rural Mississippi in 1933. He drops out of school at 9, leaves home at 13. Some of us don't even let our 13-year-olds use the toaster. But he left home at 13, went to New Orleans where he gets a job parking cars for 25 cents a day. At least his version of the story, right? My mother, she dropped out of school when she was 16 years old. She was pregnant with my older sister, Bridget, and as luck would have it, my mother's mother also dropped out of school at 16 years old pregnant, and so did my older sister, Bridget, drop out of school at 16 pregnant. So not only am I the first advanced graduate, advanced degree graduate in my family, I'm the first high school graduate in my family. And so that is not the typical formula. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That is not the typical formula for making a scientist, is it? So let me tell you how that occurred. When you buy many copies of my book and read it, or listen to the audio book, which I voiced myself, I completely lost my train of thought from that joke. I cracked me up. But basically, what you'll see is that I had a childhood that was full of trauma, all right? And I learned that humans might be best to be avoided. So whereas most people bond with other humans, I bonded with books. So today, when I go back to the Deep South to some event where my family is there, and I meet some older, uncle or aunt or friend of the family, they always point out, they say, man, when you were a kid, they always say three things about me. They say I had these bright eyes, I was a little kid with a deep voice, and no matter what was happening, I was in the corner with a book, right? So there's a lot of stories you hear of physicists who did something amazing in order to become a scientist. One of the best examples is Dr. Michio Kaku, who built his own accelerator when he was 13 years old. Then you hear of others who I built a telescope when I was 7. Well, mine came through books. When I was a 10-year-old kid, I decided that I was going to read our family set of World Book encyclopedias. So for everybody under 40, imagine the internet in books. All right? And books, by the way, are these paper things that they kind of, nobody uses that anymore. So I got to the letter E, and I ran into this dude named Albert Einstein. And was that applause for Einstein? So I saw someone that I had a lot in common with, but I also fell in love with his logic problems by which he described nature. I was very interested in nature. I was a kid that was always watching PBS, always watching science fiction, always reading comic books. I liked everything weird, and I liked everything about nature. And those two things, weirdness and nature, collided big time in one Dr. Albert Einstein. And I said to myself, I vowed to myself at the age of 10, I must understand this relativity thing. So I went about understanding relativity. Now, at the same time, when I say I went through a lot of trauma in my childhood, one element of it was that my family, which was my mother, my older sister, and me, we moved every year. And some of the communities, I'll tell you what they were: South Central Los Angeles, New Orleans East, New Orleans 9th Ward, Houston South Park, Houston 3rd Ward. You know what all those neighborhoods have in common? I'm the only one in the room who's ever been to one. Thank you for getting the joke, sir. All right? But those are the dangerous communities, right? At least they were when I was a child in those communities. So what that did is, as human beings, we are amazing creatures, right? I often point out to people that we are the advanced aliens we're looking for. And if we're built to do anything, it is to survive, right? That's what life does. We make a way. So as a young child, in order to survive, I put on this armor of toughness, of tough guy, right? I learned certain lessons, like it's better for me to intimidate you until you intimidate me, before you intimidate me. That did not work on the Stanford professors. So by the time I am this young kid, I love Einstein, but I'm also drawn to the street, as they say, right? My dad was an entrepreneur that was far beyond his time. He passed away in 2010, but if he was alive today, he would just be tickled pink that his business is now legal in 38 states. So I joined my father's business as a 9-year-old child. Was that applause for my dad's forethought, where America is going, is headed? I joined my father's business as a 9-year-old child, and literally, they would leave me at home alone, and people would come to the door looking to purchase, let's say he was a florist, looking to purchase flowers, and I would transact the business all on my own as a 9-year-old child. I don't know if you've looked at a 9-year-old child lately, but that was pretty wild. By the time I was 13 years old, I was going out to what you would call a club, what we call juke joints and pool halls. Imagine a 13-year-old kid with a bottle of wine, quote unquote. It was called TJ Swan. Anybody here know what that is? Shout if you know TJ Swan. Nobody knows. I knew it. Never. No one ever knows. They no longer make it. But imagine a kid drinking wine and other things, 13 years old in the club. That was my life, right? And by the time I'm in high school, I have my own business, okay? I go to the U.S. Navy. So when I say I made it by hope, hustle, and help, what is the hope? Back then, in rural Mississippi where we lived, getting a job really wasn't an option. You had to make it happen on your own. Farming, hunting, fishing, selling your services as a day laborer, okay? And so, what did I learn? Hard work. And so the hope is that the hard work that I put in will lead me to a better tomorrow. The hustle, I was learning from my dad. You need cash? Oh, here's how you make that cash, all right? Now, here's where the help occurs. You know, every parent gives their child what they have so their child can thrive and survive, right? And where I'm from, the parents do the exact same thing, but none of what they teach us helps you on the SAT, all right? It was how to live in that world. And by the way, I said I was getting educated in Mississippi. Do you know where Mississippi typically ranks among the 50 states in education? Somewhere in the mid-80s, all right? And in the turn of the century, Mississippi evaluated all of its schools, and every school in the state was given a ranking. Well, it was more like a grade. And 4 schools in the state received the failing grade. 2 of the 4 were my middle school and my high school. So we can truly say, being number 1 in Mississippi, that we were number 1 in the entire country. You know, a scale has 2 ends if you don't. Yeah. Now, what did this mean for me? It means I was really undereducated. I fell in love with books, but I didn't fall in love with math books, okay? And so I was very undereducated mathematically. And I really had no vision for what I was doing after high school until one day the Navy recruiter came to my school. He recruited me into the Navy at the age of 16. I signed up at 17, just like my dad went to the Army at 17. And then he got me into a program called BOOST, which stands for Broadened Opportunity for Officer Selection and Training, where they took enlisted people and made them officers. And the way it worked is, it was intense academic and military training for 1 year. And there were 2 math classes, the regular math class and a remedial math class. Guess which one I was in? Y'all don't believe in me. Somebody say remedial. That was another joke, by the way. Don't get nervous. I was a remedial math class, but in that remedial math class, they took us from arithmetic through calculus in 1 year, right? The teacher was amazing. And lucky for me, before I got kicked out for having the skin condition I suffered with my entire year, I learned algebra. And learning algebra, as you know, is the key to all STEM sciences. I get out of the Navy, and my friends start trying to encourage me to go to college. And honestly, I did not see a place for myself in college. I knew you went to college for 4 things: to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, or an engineer. Teacher didn't feel like me. Engineer, I had no idea what that meant. Attorney, isn't that evil? Doctor, it kind of felt like president. Like, sure, it's possible, but highly unlikely. So I didn't really see a place for me in college. But my friends kept trying to convince me. They're like, hey man, we know you're a musician. We got a DJ crew. You can join us. You're gonna love it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. They're like, no, it's really chill, man. You know, it's in Jackson, Mississippi, and you get to like learn more about the world. I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, it's 5-to-1 female male. Sign me up. So I showed up at Tougaloo College in the fall of 1986, not realizing that I was supposed to apply first. They were accustomed to dealing with students like me, so they got me enrolled. And when I got there, my first 2 summers I was homeless. And what do I mean by homeless? Not living in a tent under a bridge, but you know, sleeping on your floor tonight, sleeping on your couch, sleeping on, right? And the second summer, a call came in to the university asking for me. Someone called from the University of Georgia asking for my social security number so my check would be ready when they arrived. Now I have no idea what this was about, but since I know exactly what a check is, I called them back. And they informed me that I had been accepted into their summer research program that I did not apply to. So I gave them my social security number long before identity theft, and I went to my science building and I spoke with Professor Richard McGinnis at Kinchlow Hall, and he says, oh, they accepted you. And I go, what is this about? And he told me that they had gotten their grant late in the year, did not have time to recruit, so they contacted professors they knew and asked them to recommend someone, and he recommended me. And I said, thank you, Professor McGinnis, but I don't have a car, I don't have any money, I have no way to get to Athens, Georgia. So Professor McGinnis went into his own pocket and purchased my tickets to get to Athens, Georgia. And I get there, and I work for a man named Michael Duncan. He's a professor in physical chemistry. He takes me into his lab and tells me about the research that the university, that his group does, tells me what's expected of me, and then he changes my life in a couple of sentences. He says to me, you know, researchers keep strange hours, and you're gonna need access. So here's a key to the building, a key to the lab, and a key to my office. Let me tell you, I had received many things in my life up to that time, but in South Central Los Angeles, Houston 3rd Ward, New Orleans 9th Ward, there was one thing I almost never received: trust. And this dude just gave me the keys to the building. So, next thing you know, I'm showing up at work at 8 a.m. And of course, it's crickets, right? Graduate students come in at 11, drink coffee, go to lunch, then they start doing some work, right? So I ask a guy, what time am I supposed to be here? And he says, what do you mean? I'm like, you know, time here. And he's like, look, you work when you want to work. It's all about getting the job done. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I work when I want to work, no punching the clock, because I had, up to that time, minimum wage jobs where you punch the clock. Then, the end of the summer comes, and he says to me, they say to me, the group, they take me out for lunch, they're like, Hakeem, man, you're really good at this research thing. You should become a researcher. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. You're judging me on the merit of my work? Oh, research is a life for me. So I went back to Tougaloo College, got heavily involved in crime, had all F's at midterm, and dropped out. And while I was there, I was in a bad life. I found myself at gunpoint on a number of occasions, and I decided I needed to get out of that life, and I needed to get a job. So I took the job that I could get, which was a job as a janitor at the nearby hotel. And at this time, I'm so broke, making $4 an hour, minimum wage, that the way I would eat most days is when I would go to work at 3 p.m. every day, the first thing I would do is walk the halls and look for where people had ordered room service and put their tray outside their door, and I would eat their leftovers. But then MIT walked into my life. So, well, but before that happened, a bellhop gets fired at the hotel. And I think this is my big break. A bellhop can make $100 in tips in a day. I wasn't even making $100 a week. I applied for the bellhop job, and they were like, no thank you, get back to the janitor spot. And I thought to myself, I can't go from janitor to bellhop. I'm going back to college. I re-enrolled at Tougaloo College, and who shows up? A young woman from MIT named Cynthia McIntyre. She was completing her PhD in physics. She will be the second African-American woman to do so. And she and her colleagues, Aya Kutbach, Claude Poo, they were concerned about the lack of African-American physics students. So the deans were so kind to give them money to start a new conference called the National Conference of Black Physics Students. And they came down to Mississippi, and they told us that you guys, we'd like to bring you to MIT and tell you about being a physicist. Now, I was taking my first physics class. I had no idea what a physicist was. I knew about Einstein, but that was it. I came to MIT, and for the first time, I got a real idea of what being a physicist was, and I got the strategies for how to go about obtaining it. And by some miracle, I find myself accepted into Stanford University for graduate school. Now, you would imagine a kid like me, who had pulled himself up by his bootstraps, as they say, who had worked super hard, and I didn't mention how, that teaching myself relativity, ultimately, somebody came to my school and taught us about science fairs, and I decided to model, even though I didn't know the word, all of relativity and won first place in the Mississippi State Science Fair, right? So here's this kid that does all that. When you get them in their graduate school, how do you treat them? Oh man, we're gonna make sure you make it. Well, that was the opposite of what happened to me. As an example, you guys know what the qualifying exam is. I failed it the first time I took it, and I was one of 5 people who failed it that time. 2 others failed it like me for the first time, and they went and spoke to the chair of the qualifying exam committee, and the person said to them, why do you think you failed? Okay, work hard and do better next year. I received a very different message. He said, Hakeem, the faculty looked at your situation, and we realized that you have 3 options. Option number 1, maybe graduate school is not for you and you should drop out. Option number 2, maybe graduate school is for you and you should transfer, but just not at Stanford, so you should transfer. Or option number 3, you can stay in and take the exam again next year. We strongly recommend you take one of the first 2 options. What are you gonna do? To which I responded, take it again? And so, ultimately it worked out, but it was only because I had the support of my PhD advisor, the late, great Dr. Arthur Bertram Walker II, all right? So right now, there may be a Hakeem sitting next to you. When you go to your workplace or wherever it is you go next, you may run into people like me. The dude that walked on the Stanford's campus is not the guy standing before you today. Like, I met a guy out here, and I was like, hey, I recognize you. He was like, yeah, we used to play basketball together. And yeah, I used to punch people in the face. But, thank you for the... But, being rough around the edges, the passion, the ability, all of that was there. And so what I did, once I became the PhD, I became the help. And that's my message to you, right? We, as technical people, we work incredibly hard. We are in a struggle against ourselves, against our technology, against nature, against science, and we apply rigor, right? We hold each other to the standard, but developing a human is as important as developing the instrument. And I know that when we work together, we literally can accomplish anything as human beings. And I always say, if humans were trusting and humans were trustworthy, we would be Star Trek tomorrow. You guys are the innovators. You are the ones who see the future that does not yet exist. You are that hope. You are going to apply the hustle that you learned here and that you had to apply here to survive. And I implore you to also be the help in your communities. And the thing that we need to get rid of, which has been the bane of humanity from the beginning, is tribalism. And today in this country, the tribalism manifests as partisan divides, right? And I've been to 44 countries at this time, and I now recognize that the America that I used to complain about, that I saw as the land of oppression, truly is the land of freedom. It really is the best place to be on this planet. And many of you, we are the recipients of our ancestors making that recognition and coming here so that we could thrive in this world that is at the apex of human achievement. So, on that note, I'm going to say live long and prosper, and keep it on stack. Thank you.
Thank you, Hakeem. You have a remarkable story, and you tell it really, really well. Thank you. And now on to the biggest reason we're all here today, our graduates. So bear with me, I have some fancy official language to speak next. The faculty of the School of Science are declared convened. Do you feel convened? Good. Excellent. Together with this assembly, for the conferring of master's and doctoral degrees, including the investiture of the doctoral academic hood. The academic hooding ceremony is a symbol of dedication to scholarship and attainment of the doctoral requirements defined by the Academy. I am proud to now introduce you to MIT's newest scholars.
Course 12, Earth and Planetary Sciences, Master of Science in Earth and Planetary Sciences.
Christine Marie Padalino.
Course 5, Chemistry, Master of Science in Chemistry.
Giselle Pombar.
Investing Hoods for the Doctor of Biology. On behalf of the Department of Biology, Associate Professor Mary Gehring, Graduate Program Director.
Stephen Colvin. Raphael Gaillet. Nima Jaberi Lashkari. Gunter Sissoko. Kevin Gozi. Sophia Shu. Hannah Bernstein. Elizabeth Ward. Alex Chan. Megan Castle. Alyssa Anderson. Kira Marie Sapp.
Hoods for Doctor of Philosophy on behalf of the Department of Brain and Cognitive Sciences, Professor Laura Schultz, Associate Department Head and Professor of Cognitive Sciences.
Junyi Chu. Matthias Hofer. Andrew Fransel. Michael Happ. Leah Kozachkov.
Jenna Aronson.
Joyce Wang. Lupe Cruz. David Joe. John Gauthier. Jennifer Hu. Jungsu Kim. Haley Ann Olson. Eugene Lee. Yi Ning Liao. Elizabeth Breja. Janelle Feather. Francisco Garcia.
Investing hoods for the Doctor of Philosophy on behalf of the Department of Chemistry, Professor Troy Van Voris, Department Head and Haslam and Dewey Professor of Chemistry. Nail Abularaj.
Leo Delage Lori. Jingcheng Huang. Keith Hustad. James Levi Knippel. Daniel Lorenza. Edward Batting. Supachai Sri Santitam. Azin Saebi. Alexandra Brown. Victoria Mirando. Natalie Golota. Olivia Christine Fiebig. Shweta Srinivasan. Chi Lin He. Juanye Zhang. Chen-Yang Chen. Lennon Xiaoshong Luo. Chenru Duan. Yi Chu. Andrew Lissini. William Howland. Onyu Jung. Tony Scott. Alexander Kaplan. Colin Perkinson. Ruo Meng Wan. Shi Yun Ye. Jessica Xu. Christian Gomez. Nathan Fayalaga. Aditya Nandi. Changhae Kim. Andrew Liu. Henry Tran.
Investing hoods for the Doctor of Philosophy on behalf of the Department of Earth, Atmospheric, and Planetary Sciences, Professor Rob Vanderhelst, Department Head and Schlumberger Professor of Earth and Planetary Sciences.
Saleh Al Nasser. Ekaterina Polotska. Arti Dwivedi. Konstantin Vichaksono Arenscheit. Zahra Esek. Mathieu Kohl. Angel Mojaro. Patrick Beaudry. Craig Martin. Meghana Ranganathan. Kasturi Shah.
Investing hoods for the Doctor of Philosophy, on behalf of Mathematics, Professor Michel Gomans, Department Head and RSA Professor of Mathematics.
Yi Chi Zhang. Lingxian Zhang. Hunkal Arbelais. Sinho Chui. Zhi Yu Zhang. Shangwan Gan. Feng Gui. Yu Qiu Fu. Yun Hun Kim. Ranjan Anantharaman. Ethan Sussman. Aaron Berger. Yan Sheng Ang. James Tao. Andrew Salman. Oron Prop.
Investing hoods for the Doctor of Philosophy, on behalf of the Department of Physics, Professor Deepto Chakraborty, Department Head.
Samir Abraham. Valentin Didier Crepel. Cedric Wilson. Erlia Schaefer. Alyssa Rudelis. Chiara Pancaldo Salemi. Brandon Michael Roach. Wei Shun Zhang. Simon Benedict Grosse Holtz. Eric Anschutz. Peter Liu. Juliana Park. Lloyd Waits. Hyunsuk Lee. Wong Hee Han. Sangbek Lee. Pierre Barra. Yi Chi Ni. Nicholas Camp. Miao Hu. Ethan Lake. Kagan Eunice. Ji Yu Dong. Ziyang Li. Junang Li. Chungman Li. Alejandro Diaz. Christopher Whittle. David Berardo. Nicholas Murley. Kaylee Brower. Yiwen Huang. Calvin Leung. Andrea Sylvia Biscavenu. Abraham Levitan. John R. Frank. Junbo Ju.
Investing Hoods for the Doctor of Philosophy, on behalf of MIT and the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, Professor Mick Follows, MIT Director of the MIT Hui Joint Program in Oceanography.
Rebecca Schmiel. Fiona Clare. Emmanuel Codillo. Kalina Grab. Jing He. Ellen Locke.
Again, congratulations. By the powers vested in me, actually, that's misleading. I have no powers. Let me tell you the real story. So, as we conclude the investiture of doctoral hoods and degree conferral ceremony, I now invite the faculty to join me in a salute to welcome this year's doctoral graduates to the Academy. We also congratulate our master's degree candidates for their outstanding achievement. So please, faculty. With your graduation today, the faculty of this institution recognize the achievement of our advanced degree candidates. Congratulations to you all. Let us also offer a round of applause and thanks to the dedicated staff who've put together today's advanced degree ceremony. Thank you so much, Mike and the team. Family and friends, I ask that you remain in your seats until our faculty and graduates have exited to the lobby. Once they have exited, please join us outside for a reception, the big tent just outside this building in that direction. So we'll see you all there at the reception. Thank you again for being here, and congratulations to our graduates.